Imagine working every single day of your life, giving your time, your sweat, your energy a broken bar and still ending up broke. Now imagine another person, same 24 hours, same world, but within years they build empires, live with freedom, and create a legacy. What's the difference? It's not luck, it's not magic, it's mindset. Today, I'm going to reveal the secrets of how the rich think so differently from the poor, and once you understand this, you'll never see money, success, or your own potential in the same way again. Hello friends, welcome. Today I want to talk to you about one of the most important questions of our times. Why is it that the poor are becoming poorer and the rich are becoming richer? Why is it that this gap between wealth and poverty is widening every single day? Why is it that 95% of the wealth of the world lies in the hands of just 5% of people, while the remaining 95% of people have to share only 5% of the wealth? And you may have heard this famous thought before, that even if you were to take away all the wealth from people like Ambani, Adani, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Warren Buffett, and many other wealthy men and distribute that money equally among every single person on this planet, in just a few years that money will again find its way back into the pockets of those same rich men, and the rest of the world will once again find itself poor. How is this possible? Why does the world seem to work in this strange way? That is what I want to explain to you today, and if you stay with me until the end, I will tell you what you can learn from the wedding of Mukesh Ambani's daughter that no 100 books can never teach you. So I request you to listen carefully until the very end, because this may change the way you see your own financial life. I want to begin with two very interesting questions. The first question is this: why has Shah Khan, who has a net worth of more than 6,500 crore rupees, never bought his own private jet? Do you think he cannot afford it? A private jet of 400 crores is something he can easily buy if he wants to. For him it is not a big deal. Then why does he not? And the second question is even more curious. After the discovery of oil, why is it that countries like Dubai and Saudi Arabia became rich nations while Venezuela, despite discovering oil too, ended up completely ruined? Both had oil, both had resources, but one side rose to glory and the other side fell into despair. Why, my friends? The answers to both these questions lie in the 5 rules that every rich person on this planet follows. These rules are like laws, unspoken but powerful. Ambani follows them, Zuckerberg follows them, Tata follows them, Buffett follows them, and anyone who ignores them ends up struggling. The rich become richer because they respect these rules, and the poor remain poor because they never learn them. The first truth that every rich man knows is that it is not enough to become rich, you must also know how to stay rich. Many people climb to the top of the mountain and then fall right back down. They make money and then they lose it all. Why? Because they have no backup plan, no safety net. Life is uncertain. Life is unpredictable. At any time a storm can come. Think of a car. Even though it has 4 new tires, the company always provides an extra spare tire. Why? Because if one tire bursts on the road, you need a backup to continue the journey. Without that spare tire, your entire journey comes to a halt. Similarly, in life, you must always have a backup. Think of the Titanic, the so-called unsinkable ship. They said nothing could bring it down. And yet when it hit an iceberg, water filled the ship, and people needed lifeboats to survive. But the ship did not have enough lifeboats. Why? Because the company was overconfident. They thought nothing could happen, and that overconfidence cost the lives of 1,500 people. There was no backup plan. History is full of such examples. In Italy, there was once a prosperous city named Pompeii. The people there were living happily, unaware that only 24 kilometers away, a volcano was quietly burning. They thought nothing could happen. But when the volcano erupted, in a single moment the entire city was reduced to ash. Nobody imagined it. Nobody prepared. Nobody had a backup. Even in our modern times we have seen this. Think of September 11, 2001, when people were sitting in the World Trade Center, working as usual, completely unaware that it was the last day of their lives. None of them could have imagined that morning that by evening their building would collapse. Life is unpredictable. Anything can happen, anytime. That is why I always tell people, do not just dream of becoming rich, Also prepare to stay rich. And the way to stay rich is to prepare for uncertainties. You must have insurance, especially term insurance. It is not about you. It is about the family you leave behind. After you are gone, your wife, your children, your parents should not suffer financially. They should not have to stop their education or struggle to pay bills. No amount of money can bring back a person, but money can give courage to live. That is why insurance is essential. It is not a luxury, it is a responsibility. Now let me return to Shah Khan's story. He has the money to buy a jet, but he understands something most people don't. It is not about whether you can buy something, it is about whether you can afford to maintain it. A 400-crore jet is not just about buying it, it is about the endless cost of fuel, staff, hangars, and maintenance. Shah knows that while he can buy it, it may not be wise to afford it. That is why, whenever he had to choose between buying a jet or investing in his next film, he chose investment. He chose to multiply money, not to waste it. Now compare this to a middle-class man. He gets a job of $30,000 per month and immediately goes to buy the latest iPhone on Emmy. He makes a down payment of $20,000, then pays $6,000 every month. That is the difference in mindset. The rich man thinks of affordability. The poor man thinks only of desire. The rich man says, yes, I can buy it, but should I? The poor man says, if I can somehow buy it, I must. That is why the rich remain rich and the poor remain trapped. Friends, buying an elephant is not difficult, maintaining it is. That is the truth of wealth. Now let us move to the second truth the rich know: savings and wise investments. Our elders always said, a penny saved is a penny earned. And they were right. Let us return to Venezuela. Oil was discovered there in 1920, and by the 1960s, Venezuela was one of the richest countries in the world. The government gave subsidies. Goods were cheaper than their production cost. People lived in luxury. But in the 1980s, oil income began to fall. The government borrowed money. When it could not repay, debt piled up. The currency collapsed. Today, 1 Indian rupee is equal to 45 lakh bolivars. Imagine the fall. A country once rich is today begging for aid. Now compare this with Norway, which also discovered oil in 1969. But Norway is today one of the richest, happiest nations on earth. Why? Because they knew oil money would not last forever. They saved it. They built a sovereign wealth fund. They invested it globally. They let money multiply. And today, even when the world faces recession, Norway stands strong. So the lesson is clear. Saving is not enough. You must invest wisely. Money sitting idle in a locker is like a magnet locked in a box. It loses its power. But money invested in the right place attracts more money. History is filled with examples of those who saw opportunity in crisis. In 1963, American Express was hit by a scandal. A company borrowed money by saying it had oil barrels as collateral, but when the barrels were checked, they were filled with water. The news leaked. Shares crashed. Everyone thought the bank was finished. Investors ran away. But one man studied the situation deeply. He realized that while the reputation of the bank was hit, its business model was still solid. That man was Warren Buffett. He invested $20 million at that time. Everyone thought he was foolish. But today that stake is worth more than $26 billion. That is the difference. The rich know when to step back and when to step in. They do not panic when the world panics. They research, they understand, they act. Now let me share with you another powerful truth. In Ayodhya, when the Ram temple was being planned, many people who had knowledge of real estate invested in land there. They knew that once the temple was completed, land prices would skyrocket. And that is exactly what happened. Land that was once cheap is today worth a fortune. Those who had knowledge and foresight made wealth. This is the rule of money. Opportunities are always there, but only those who prepare and observe can grab them. And now we come to another important reality. Imitation is dangerous. Many of you must have seen the wedding of an Ant Ambani, the younger son of Mukesh Ambani. It was like a never-ending cricket test match. Functions after functions, celebrities performing, luxury everywhere. Rihanna, Justin Bieber, international stars, outfits worth crores. And many people watching must have thought, one day, I will have a wedding like this. Some even started planning. We will also have grand functions. We will also invite hundreds of guests. We will also spend lakhs on outfits, crores on shows. But my friends, listen carefully. This is a trap. Mukesh Ambani spent 5,000 crores. Yes, but that was not even 1% of his net worth. For him, it was like pocket change. But if you try to imitate him, you will fall into debt. You will take loans. You will spend money you don't have. And then you will spend years paying Emmys, maybe even renting out your wedding clothes just to pay bills. That is the harsh truth. Comparison is poison. Do not compare your life with the Ambanis. Remember, when Ambani breathes, his wealth grows. You cannot compete with that. You do not know what business plan he has, what vision he has. Perhaps even his daughter's wedding expenses are part of a larger strategy. Who knows? But for you, copying him is disaster. Learn from him, yes, but do not imitate his lifestyle. So my request to you is, stop looking at what others are doing and focus on your own growth. Build your backup, save, invest wisely, spot opportunities, and avoid imitation. That is how you create lasting wealth. And remember, life is not about showing off, it is about building a foundation strong enough to withstand storms. Stay alert, stay disciplined, and never forget, becoming rich is not the challenge, staying rich is. Friends, as we move further in this conversation, I want to take you even deeper into the mindset of wealth and poverty, because money is not just about numbers, it is about psychology, it is about habits, it is about decisions, it is about the way we see the world. The poor and the rich do not just live differently, they think differently, and it is this difference in thought that decides the difference in destiny. Many people believe that wealth is about luck, about being born into the right family, about getting opportunities, but the truth is that wealth is about choices. Two people can start in the same place, with the same opportunities, and yet one ends up rich and the other poor. Why? Because their mindset was different. Let me give you a simple example. A middle-class man receives his salary. The first thing he thinks about is, what can I buy? How can I celebrate? How can I enjoy? He buys new clothes, a new phone, maybe goes out to eat. His entire focus is on spending. On the other hand, a wealthy man, when he receives money, thinks differently. He asks, how can I multiply this? How can this money work for me? He looks for investments, for businesses, for opportunities. He spends only after he has multiplied. That is why the poor get poorer, because the little money they receive vanishes, while the rich keep growing, because the money they receive multiplies further. There is a beautiful line, poor people buy things, rich people buy assets, and this is something you must understand very clearly. If you buy a phone, it loses value the moment you open the box. It becomes an expense. But if you buy land, if you buy stocks, if you buy a business, those things can grow in value. The rich are always looking for assets, while the poor are always trapped in liabilities. Now let me tell you a story from the life of Elon Musk. When he sold his first company, Zip2, he made around $22 million. Imagine, a young man suddenly has $22 million in his hand. What would an ordinary person do? Buy houses, buy cars, go on holidays, spend on luxuries. But what did Musk do? He invested every single dollar into his next ventures, PayPal, SpaceX, and Tesla. He was so committed that he had to borrow money from friends to pay his rent. Think about this. A man with millions in his hand chooses to live like a broke person because he understands that the game is not about spending, the game is about creating. That is the difference. People often ask me, why do billionaires keep working even after becoming so rich? Why does Warren Buffett, at the age of 90, still go to office? Why does Mukesh Ambani, with all his wealth, still wake up every morning thinking of new projects? Why does Bill Gates still sit down to read and learn every day? Because for them, money is not the final goal. Money is just a tool, a scorecard, a byproduct of creation. They are driven not by comfort but by contribution, and that is what keeps them rich. The poor, on the other hand, think once they have money, the game is over. They stop learning, they stop working, they stop pushing, and very soon, the money they had vanishes. You must have heard of lottery winners. Studies show that nearly 70% of lottery winners go bankrupt within 5 years. Imagine, Someone wins millions overnight and yet within a few years they are poorer than before. Why? Because they never developed the mindset to handle money. They never built the habits of the rich. Money without mindset is like water in a broken pot. It leaks away. This is why financial education is so important. Unfortunately, schools teach us algebra, history, and geography, but they never teach us how to handle money. They never teach us how to save, how to invest, how to grow. That is why so many people end up working their whole lives for money instead of making money work for them. Rich parents teach their children about money from the start. They talk about investments at the dinner table. They discuss stocks, businesses, and opportunities. Poor parents tell their children to study hard, get a safe job, and spend carefully. That is the difference. One teaches multiplication, the other teaches survival. Now let me take you back to the story of Shah Khan. Think again about his decision not to buy a jet. This is not just about money. This is about discipline. Discipline is the foundation of wealth. The rich know how to control their desires. They know that just because you can buy something does not mean you should. They postpone gratification. They invest first, enjoy later. The poor do the opposite. They enjoy first, and then spend a lifetime paying for it. This one shift from spending first to investing first can change your entire life. Another powerful difference is that the rich will always build systems, while the poor depend on effort. A poor man thinks, if I work harder, if I take more shifts, if I do more overtime, I will earn more. But there is a limit to how many hours you can work. A rich man thinks, how can I build a system that earns even when I sleep? That is why the rich invest in businesses, in stocks, in real estate. These things generate income without their constant presence. Warren Buffett says, if you do not find a way to make money while you sleep, you will work until you die. And that is exactly what happens to the poor. They keep working, keep struggling, and yet never break free. Let me also talk about risk. The poor fear risk. The rich manage risk. A poor man says, what if I lose money? A rich man says, what if I lose the opportunity? That is why the poor save in lockers, while the rich invest in markets. That is why the poor buy gold to store, while the rich buy companies to grow. Every single innovation you see around you, your phone, your apps, your cars, all came because some rich person was willing to take risk. But I must make it clear, risk does not mean gambling. Risk means calculated action. Warren Buffett did not invest blindly in American Express. He studied deeply, he understood the model, and then he acted. That is calculated risk. Rich people educate themselves before taking risk, while poor people either avoid risk altogether or jump without preparation. Both are dangerous. Another truth is environment. Who you spend time with decides who you become. Poor people often surround themselves with other poor thinkers. They gossip, they complain, they blame. Rich people surround themselves with other achievers. They brainstorm, they share ideas, they inspire. Show me your friends and I will show you your future. If you spend your evenings watching television serials, gossiping about neighbors, you will stay where you are. If you spend your evenings reading books, attending seminars, discussing ideas, your future will change. Let us return for a moment to Mukesh Ambani's wedding expenses. Many people saw only the glamour, but few understood the deeper picture. Do you think a businessman like Ambani spends 5,000 crores without thought? Do you think it was just about showing off? Every single move was strategic. The wedding brought global attention. The presence of international celebrities built networks, relationships, and business opportunities. The publicity strengthened his brand. What looked like a family event was also a global marketing event. That is how billionaires think. They see opportunity where others see celebration. Now imagine someone poor trying to copy that. They spend lakhs on a wedding they cannot afford. They borrow money. They invite hundreds of guests. And then they spend the next 10 years paying off the debt. That is the tragedy. They saw the surface but never the strategy. They copied the action but not the thought behind it. This is why I say, never imitate blindly. Learn the principles, not the lifestyle. Friends, another thing the rich understand is health. You may be surprised, but health is wealth in the truest sense. What is the use of billions if you do not have the body to enjoy it? That is why the rich invest in their fitness, in their food, and their mental peace. They know that without energy, nothing can be achieved. Poor people often ignore health. They eat whatever is cheap. They sleep late. They abuse their body. And later they spend whatever little they earned on hospitals. This is not wisdom. This is foolishness. Wealth begins with health. Let us also talk about time. The poor waste time. The rich value time. A poor man says, "I will do it tomorrow." A rich man says, "Time lost is opportunity lost." That is why the rich are punctual, disciplined, and structured. They know every hour is precious. They hire people to save time. They delegate. They automate. They focus on the highest value tasks. Poor people do everything themselves, trying to save money but losing time. And since time is life, they end up losing life itself. Now I want to leave you with a powerful lesson. The secret to lasting wealth is not speed. It is consistency. Many people want to get rich quick. They want shortcuts. They fall into scams, into schemes, into gambling, into quick profit traps, and in the end, they lose everything. The rich understand the power of compounding. They know that even small investments, made consistently, grow into massive fortunes over time. That is why Warren Buffett says his wealth is the result of three things: living in America, good genes, and compound interest. Compounding is magic, but it requires patience. So, my dear friends, do not run after quick money. Build steady, consistent habits. Save every month. Invest wisely. Keep learning. Stay disciplined. Avoid comparisons. Protect yourself with insurance. Value your time, your health, your relationships. And above all, keep a mindset of growth. The poor become poorer not because they lack money but because they lack mindset. The rich become richer not because they have luck but because they have discipline. You too can choose. Every single day you are making choices: what to read, what to watch, what to buy, whom to spend time with. Those choices are building your future. So, do not waste your life chasing shadows. Build a foundation. Think like the rich, act like the rich, and one day, you will not only become rich, but you will stay rich. Remember, wealth is not just about what you have in your bank. It is about what you have in your mind. Build your mind, and the money will follow. Stay healthy, stay focused, keep learning, and keep growing. I will see you in the next session with another powerful lesson. Until then, take care of yourself and your family, keep your vision high, and keep working with consistency. May you achieve not only wealth, but also wisdom.